year 7 and 8. You grab your material and you fold it in about halfway, roughly. Okay? Now what we do is we grab our template for our tote bag, and this is folded in half. As you can see, it's not directly to the edge. That's fine. What we're trying to do is eliminate the amount of work you're doing. So what we do, on the template it says on the fold here. Now, but really, it doesn't actually matter. What we want to do is keep moving the material back until it's the same length as the bag. So here is the distance of the bag, or of the template. And I'm folding it to make sure that there is an edging creased here, as you can see. Going one down and on the edge. Once we do this, we pin. We grab your pins, the ones that you would have purchased yourself from Linkcraft, and we put a few pins around the template. Now make sure when you jab the needle, your fingers are away from where you jab, and you don't go straight to the edge, because that's where we're going to cut. So what I'm going to do in front of you is I'm going to pin, and you would put 2 more in the middle so it doesn't move. I'll just show you now. If it moves, you need to keep adjusting it and make sure the back of it, the back fabric, because we folded it in half, it's flat. This avoids us. If we're going to cut around it, we've avoided now cutting this edge. Because the more cuts we do, the more likely we're going to cut it not straight. There we go. You can put as many as you like. I've put on each corner and one in the middle up the top, but my suggestion is put in the middle as well. Now what we do is we grab our fabric scissors. The pink ones are the heavy duty ones. And we cut down the edging. As you can see, I'm going to cut straight on the edge. I'm not going to cut the top layer. I'm only going to cut the bottom layer. You cut as straight as possible. So the first cut I did, I only cut one layer off. Why? Because it's straight on the edge. And then I'm going to cut the other. Make sure you hold it tight, because we don't want, as you cut, you may take out the pins. We don't want any mishap when we cut. Watch out for your fingers with the needles. Make sure you cut as straight as possible, not cutting the paper. Take off all the needles in your template. Make sure you put them back in your container due to safety. Follow me as you see me. Okay, there we go. Now we're done with this. Now you may pass your template to your friend, or you may throw it away. It's fine. Okay. So there we go. Here is our first template. Here's our tote bag. So our tote bag is going to look like this when we carry it. It's going to look like this. So here's piece number 1. The second template that we have installed to make our tote bag is your teacher will give you a piece of paper. similar to our first template, and you are required to cut out a 9 centimeter width by the length of the butcher's paper, which will probably be 45 centimeters. If it's longer or shorter, it doesn't matter. You need 2 pieces. The first piece that I'd like you to do is place it on top of, similarly to our first piece. I'd like you to fold this piece that you have out of your 1 square meter that you purchased from Spotlight or Lincraft. You fold it in half. The amount of fold that you fold it is 9 centimeters. So if it's a little bit more, that's okay. If it's a little bit less, that's okay. Roughly 9, but try to be consistent. So here's my 9 centimeters. Do you notice how my edge that I cut is not straight? That's okay, because that is going to be hidden in our straps when we start to make our straps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin, as you can see, I fold it in half. I'm going to pin a few pins on, one on the bottom, not on the edge though, about 1 centimeter away from the edge. My first template of my strap. Now I grab my ruler and I measure the length of my first piece. Currently, there's 30 centimeters and there is 15. That's 45 centimeters. My strap, as per your booklet, needs to be 75 centimeters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my tape measure and I'm going to place it on the edge and mark out where 75 centimeters will be. And 75 centimeters ends up here. 75 centimeters. So I'm going to make sure my fabric is straight as possible. I'm going to grab my second 9 centimeter width, and what I'm going to do, place it on top until I reach from 1 to 75 centimeters. Place it as straight as possible, the same width, 75 centimeters. Perfect. I'm going to grab my pin it on the edge. Watch out for your fingers. So there's my first pin. And now I'm going to pin one of the edges or over here. Okay. So there we go. Do you notice how my cut is not straight? That's fine. It'll get hidden when I decide to cut it. But try to be as consistent as possible with the 9 centimeters. Now, I grab my fabric scissors and I cut. I noticed that if you do little cuts, you cut a better straight edge rather than trying to jab the scissors and moving the fabric. So the less movement, the better in your assignment. When I cut this side of the fabric, remember, because I folded it, I only need to cut one fabric, one layer, not 2. Okay, there we go. Now, remember, this is 2 straps. Why? Because it's folded in half. What I'm going to do now is continue with my fabric scissors, and as I go halfway in the middle of the crease here with my fabric scissors, there is a reason why I didn't put pins on this edge, is because I don't want the scissors to be stuck on a needle. And I am going to cut as straight as possible, cutting the fabric in half. You can either go on the side like this, it's up to you. There we go. Now, here are, once I take out my pins, here are my both pieces of fabric. 2 pieces. Now that we've got our straps, I would like you to turn to your fabric, put your fabric face, the front face or the fabric with the pattern, put that on the bottom or on the table face down. And what I'd like you to do with your pins is grab a bunch of pins, place them next to you for easy access. And what I'd like you to do, because it's 9 centimeters, the width of this fabric, what I'd like you to do is fold it in half, roughly halfway, like so. Fold it in half, like so, from each end. And then fold it half again. So folding it in half, and then we're folding it in half again. Again, we're folding it in half this way, and we're folding it in half again. What I'd like to do, make sure it's nice and cozy and nice and tight, and put your first pin, watch out for your fingers, put your first pin there. So now it's stuck into place. And you keep going all the way. So use your fingers, roll it in, you pin it inside, halfway, and half again. Every 10 or 15 centimeters or so, try to be consistent with being halfway. Every about 10 or 15 centimeters, put a pin in. And there you go. Again, do you notice how mine is starting to go not being half? This side is a bit thicker. Well, in the next one, I'm going to make sure this one is thicker. I want to be consistent. There are marks for consistency in this assignment. Do you see how it opened up? And look at that. If you notice that happening, this is no good. You have to undo it and redo that fold. Starting to come out again. So we've got to make sure that we are very consistent and very tight. As I reach the end, this is about a 20 centimeter gap. I'm going to see how it goes with doing it right at the end, folding it halfway and folding it half again. See how it pops out? Couldn't skip one. Every 10 centimeters or so. Even less if you want to be more consistent. Okay, and there's my first strap. This is the first one. Okay? Ready for number 2? Okay. Now that you've done both straps as consistently as possible, folding the 9 centimeter width twice in half, we place that on the edge or on the side of our workstation. Now, we grab our original fabric, the one that we first cut, the template, and you're going to notice that where we cut, the material starting to fray. You notice the material is starting to fray, like this. Look at this. Ready? To avoid this in our tote bag, or bag that we're making, what we're going to do is we're going to adjust the sewing machine so that we can remove or eliminate the threading on all the edges of our tote bag. And to do this, this is what we do. So threading the machine. The very first step is our bobbin. Now our bobbin is this plastic piece. And if you notice, there's only one hole on either end. One hole. The way we thread it is we grab our thread and we place it from the inside of the bobbin, where the cylinder is, and go through that hole. There we go. So there's our bobbin. The bobbin is going through, this is the most important part, through the middle, going out, as you can see. Now we grab this material, the thread, we pull it out a little bit, and we place it in the bobbin head, which is here. We put it in and we click it to the right like so. Ready? We click it to the right like so. What that does is that locks the bobbin into place. Now do you notice I can still move the fabric? The thread? Yep, make sure you don't pull it out. Now what we do is we grab our thread, wind it for as long as enough to put it in our rod here. So we grab our stopper, put the thread in our rod. Do you notice how now I've got a little bit of thread hanging? This is no good. If you have a little bit, keep winding it until it's minimally hanging there. And what I do, one of the most important items of this video is the first step. We go around step 1 along this black piece here, step 1, through number 2, this screw here. This sets the alignment of the thread. Making sure if we're going to pull the thread, we put our stopper into place. So watch this. Number 1 is the black, number 2 is the silver. Making sure you don't pull too much and we let go. Even though there's a little bit there, we can still pull it back. There we go. Okay. Now, making sure that the power is on in the machine, and this is back. Hold the thread and press the accelerator, and notice what happens now. Once you do it for about 20 seconds or so, you may want to let go of the thread. Okay. Notice I can still pull the top part of the thread, like so. You can hold it for the duration, that's fine. As long as it doesn't get caught on the inside of the bobbin. Now, as you can see, I have a little bit of thread to go, so I'm going to finish it off. Okay. Now, what we do, we turn the power off. Click the bobbin head back to the left position and take out our bobbin. What I do is, because there's a little bit still hanging out, with the scissors, I will cut the excess off, leaving about 1/2 centimeter or so. And this section here is going to be our bobbin for our material. Yeah? Alright, once we've got our bobbin, we place it on the side. And now what we want to do is we want to thread our machine. When we thread our machine, we make sure that we have enough thread in there to last us for our project. What we'd like you to do is this. Place your thread into the rod. The stopper goes after that. And what we're going to do is we're going to follow the numbers on the machine. Following the numbers on the machine as we pull our thread, it's the opposite to what we did with our bobbin. First step is we go around the silver screw. That's step 1. Once we go around the black nozzle part, we go follow the groove down, and there's a U shape here. We follow it around. Once we follow it around, what we can do, just to show you, our handle, our top handle, move it up so that this template or this guide, what we do is we bring the thread on the right side. We bring the thread on the right side of the guide, and if you can see right in there, there is a little groove area in the middle of it. What you need to do is get the thread behind it, move it forward and put it in the groove until you hear a click. Ready? Look how faint the click is. That's it. And now it hangs inside this circle. Once we have that, we are ready to put our thread inside our needle. So, our needle. Here is our needle. It should already be in there. There is a little hole in the needle. What you may need to do is lick the thread to make sure it's straight, and in the needle part, put this through the little hole in the needle. Now that once you place it in the needle, okay, pull it out a little bit and put it at the back. Now, the excess thread that we have, what you can do with it is there's a little knife piece at the back here. What I'd like you to do is with your excess, because it's a bit dangerous to have excess thread, you can, on the back of it, there is a little knife, little sharp edge. What I'd like you to do is put it around it and then push down. And this cuts it off. Now, once we've threaded our bobbin, what you can do is put it in the place that it's supposed to go, underneath the head. What I'd like you to do is there's a little latch behind the needle, there's a little latch. What I'd like you to do, lift it up, there's a little latch behind the needle. I'd like you to lift it up, and then what else I'd like you to do is there is a little black piece, it's like a little hinge, like a little lock. What I'd like you to do is push down. What I'd like you to do is push down and to the right. And what this does is this. It unlocks our protective glass piece. Put that in front of you. And we grab our bobbin, we place it inside the compartment area. But if you notice, there are 2 grooves on the edging on the stainless steel. This is super important. What I'd like you to do is place the bobbin slowly into the bobbin compartment, holding the thread. You must hold the thread. Once you place it in there, making sure it's to the right, then what I'd like you to do, without pulling the thread, hold the bobbin with your left hand, and with the right hand, you need to make the thread go under the stainless steel in the groove. So it must go under, and you can push down on the thread if you like. So do you notice now how it's going under? See how it's under now? Look, it's under. And we place it to the side, at the back. Then we place our cover back on. The grooves here go first, and make sure that the thread is on the corner. And we close it into place. What we can do with this is again behind it on our sharp edge, and we can grab both pieces now. 2 threads should be present, one from our needle head and one from our bobbin. We can place them on behind the foot of the needle.
Yep.
As you can remember earlier in 2 videos ago, I spoke about the fraying of the edges. We need to eliminate the fraying of the edges. One way in order to eliminate the fraying of the edges, okay, is to make sure that our setting is set on a zigzag motion. Once we want to make a zigzag motion, this is what we do. The bottom handle changes the number as you can see, there's a red line from left to right. See the red line? Number 13 is a straight sew. Number 12 is our zigzag. If we do a zigzag motion on the edge, this will stop the material fraying inside our tote bag. So let's see. So let's set it up. So we've stopped the fraying on first step when we want to sew our tote bag. Setting number 12. Each stitch I want it to be 1.5 apart, and I want the zigzag to be 5 millimeters apart. So number 5 for the top, 1.5 for the bottom. Okay. Now, once we do this, I will place everything aside, away from me, to make sure my work environment is safe, and I will start. My first step when I start is this. I'll make sure either we're sewing from the inside out, and I'll make sure that the top handle moves our needle up and down. So as you can see, it moves our needle up and down. What I'd like to do is put the needle about 5 millimeters away from the edge. So I'm going to try and put it in this corner here, about 5 millimeters away. Once your needle goes in, you can go back to the back latch and push it down so that the foot of the needle locks the material or the fabric into place. Just like so. So it was up, and now it's down. Now what I do, I'm ready. Remember, you go forward 3 spaces, and then you go back 3 spaces in reverse. Why do we do this? So that the thread can lock into place. And we do this with our reverse button here. This is our reverse button. So if you notice, look at the needle and look at the reverse button. Ready? Watch this. So I'm going 3 needle threads to the front, and then don't forget, we have to turn it on. And now we go 3 to the back, like this. And now we go forward. Make sure when you hold the fabric, you guide it. You don't push it, you guide it. Make sure that the foot of the needle does not go over the edge of the fabric, and as you can see what's happening, now the fabric is super strong on the edges. There will be no fraying. So as I guide it, as you get better and better, you may go faster and faster. Try to keep it as straight as possible. Watch out for your fingers, do not go under the needle. Once you go to the edge, this is super important. Once you go to the edge, make sure that the needle stays inside the fabric. Okay? So I'm moving, so now it's above, if you can see. The needle is above the fabric. The needle is up here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press the pedal a little bit more. Make sure it's in there. If you can't get it in there, I can manually do it as well, like so. Make sure that the needle is in, and then I may lift up the foot of the needle and rotate the fabric and go down this edge. We have to go around all 4 edges to make sure that our fabric is super strong on the edges, and then you're ready to go. Do you notice how now it's going a little bit off? You have to make sure that you guide it and steer it in the right direction. Making sure that the needle is in there. I lift up the foot and I rotate again. Always keep a checkup to see how much thread you've got. See what happens when I lost focus? This is what happens when you lose focus. Your thread does not become straight. Your stitching does not become straight. We're lucky that this is going to be on the inside of our fabric, but if it was on the outside, it'll look super ugly and you wouldn't want to buy it from the shop. When we reach the end or about the end of our material, remember to lock the material in place, we need to go forward and then back about 3 times. So now when we've reached the end, what I would like you to do is making sure to lock the thread into place. We go forward. After our forward, we need to go back 3 threads and move forward 3 threads. So we're going back 3 threads and then we're going to go forward 3 threads to lock the thread into place. And once you do that, make sure our needle is in the air. Move the foot, and you can see there are only 2 threads coming out, which is perfect. I'm going to pull it a little bit, not too hard, and I'm going to go to our blade on the side here. Ready? And then we're going to put it down. There we go. Now this is super strong. Okay. So once we put our straps back into place, we lock our foot into the strap. And what we need to do now is we need to go to a straight thread. A straight thread is number 13. So I'm using the bottom handle. I'm moving from number 12. If you look at the red line on the zigzag, I'm going to a straight, number 13. Once I do that, I want the gap between each one to be 1.5. So always leave it on 1.5 for now. The top part doesn't matter, that's our zigzag, we don't need that. And what I do is I move it into place, in there. Remember, I'm going to go forward 3, backwards 3. Ready? Hold that for reverse. Now that locked our thread, and now I'm going to go forward. As I go, I'm going to take out the needle, but because my hand is here, I'm going to take this needle out. So I'm going to make sure I hold it tightly. And because we've doubled up on the fabric, I may place my hand at the back to help guide it into place, like so. As I approach a needle, make sure I take it out before I sew the needle on there, because that will break our machine. Before I reach the edge, I make sure I go to the back in reverse and then forward again. Lift up my thread, make sure there's 2, and then to the back blade. Now, if you can see, I've closed off my thread. Perfect straps. These are still open. That's okay. We have the option of closing them either here, or we have the option of closing them when we do our bag. I chose to do it when I do my bag. There's one. And here's the second one. See the frayed because we didn't do this one, but this one will be fixed up when we do our bag. Put it in, lock the foot, go forward 3, backwards 3, and then forward. You notice now that the needle is really close to the foot of the thing, the needle is close to the foot of the needle of the machine. So it might be a little bit difficult, but you have to make sure that you always remain safe. As I reach the end, make sure I go forward 3, backwards 3, and forward again 3. And there are straps done. So now I have 2 straps, very solid. And our material. Turn the machine off, ready for the next section. Now once we finish from the machine, we'll grab our first template of the tote bag. We fold about 5 centimeters. We measure 5 centimeters from the material. So as you can see, 5 centimeters. This is where our straps are going to be sewed onto. So about 5 centimeters there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a pin near the edge. I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to do 5 centimeters again. I'm going to make 3. But for your assignment, if you choose to put more pins, the more sturdy and the more straight it will become. So I'm going to choose 3, but my recommendation is about 5 to 7. See how it pops up here? I'm going to do 4 actually. Once we do this, we go back to our machine. We turn it on. Keeping it on the same number, 1.5 and 13 for the straight. What I want to do is I'm going to sew just above. I'm going to sew it just above the zigzag line. Remember, 3 forward, 3 back. look what's happened. This may happen to you. Do you notice now it's not sewing? It's a very common mistake from all the students. Make sure that you lift up the foot. If this happens to you, lift up the foot with the latch on the back. Make sure the needle's above the fabric. Pull out your fabric, cut it off. There's an error. The error is that the bobbin has emptied. We have to replenish it. Fill it up with step 1 of this video again. So I decided to change my color this time. I decided to go light blue. So remember how we placed our bobbin from tutorial number 1. I placed the video back, I placed the needle where it left off to about here. Put the foot of the needle down and I go forward 3 and backwards 3 to lock in on my new thread. As you can see, the new color is coming through. It is not recommended to use 2 different colors. But for the purpose of this video, I'm showing you the skill and technique. If your needle decides to go over on the zigzag, that's fine. It does not affect it at all. Okay, now that we've reached the end, remember, backwards 3, forwards 3. Lift up the needle, lift up the foot. Thank you very much. There's 2 there. Once there's 2, perfect. If there's 3, it means there's a mistake somewhere. Okay, and there's my line. As you can see, it's not perfectly straight, but we have to try and make it as straight as possible. Now, what we do is this. We grab our material, we fold it like so in half. Then, before we do that, this is the opportunity where if you want to make a pocket on the inside, you may grab a piece of material, measure your pocket, and place your material or square. You may decide to sew it on the inside of your bag. Or if you decide to sew it on the outside, that's also fine. You can do it on the outside. It's up to you. If you decide to have time, if you decide to have a pocket on your bag. For this purpose, I am not doing a pocket. Now, once we do that, with or without your pocket, we turn this over, fold it inside out. Now, as you can see, our bag's starting to take shape. So what I'd like to do is this. We need to close it up. So we close up from this edge, going around this way. Alright? With the same setting. So from the top. Put them both in, making sure that they're both alongside. Now, if you're finding it difficult to line them up, that's fine. Put a pin. foot goes down, again, foot goes down, we line it up, go forward 3, and we go backwards 3, and then we go forward. If you've noticed, I put the needle a little bit away from the edge because I didn't want to take it out while I was sewing. Remember, when you turn, the needle has to, you rotate it with this, the top handle, the needle has to be on the inside. We lift up the latch, leaving the needle on the inside so I can't move, and now I turn to this way, put the foot down, and I continue. Now I'm going to go back 3 and forward 3 when I close it off. Making sure my needle's in the air, foot up, close it off. Now I've got a bag, but what's wrong with it? It's inside out. So what we do is we put our hand on the inside and pop it inside out. And there's my bag. Ready for the handles, and then we're done. So what I do is I grab my handles, I grab my ruler. It's all right, I grab my ruler, and I measure the distance about 5 centimeters from the edge to be consistent. So I grab one, put it about 5 centimeters away, and I put a pin. If I put it 5 centimeters away and 5 centimeters below, like so, and I put a pin there. Okay. The same strap is on the same side, about 5 centimeters from the edge and 5 centimeters down. I'll put it in. There's my bag. There's one side of my bag. Now I'm ready to strap the hand. So what I do is I make sure that I pull the inside out a little bit so that I don't sew the other side on here. Once I have the pin there, I can remove the pin as long as I don't move the material, keeping it straight. lock it into place, and this time we're going to go down, across, up, back across, and then we're going to make an X in our box. So the way that's going to look like is like this. We're going to go forward, remember the reverse, go forward, while the needle is still in, lift up the foot, turn it around, put the foot back down, lift up the foot. Now instead of turning it all the way around, which you can go in reverse if you wish, but you can go this way as well. Lift up the foot, turn back around. You all would have done this as a practice exercise as well. You can go back across. Leave the needle in the material, lift up the foot, you turn back again, we make an X across. This is what gives us power. This is what gives strength to the bag. Keep the needle in, lift up the foot, go across again, up the foot, and go on an angle. You may wish to close it off at the top with a close the box off, and remember to go back 3. Needle. Later on we'll cut our threads, or we can cut them now. Super strong. There's my first bag. My first strap. Next one. Making sure that the needle was in there, keeping your finger where in the position it was. Put the foot down, go forward 3, back 3, forward 3. Rotate. Make sure it keeps straight. Put the foot down, go across. Lift up. Keep turning around. This time I'm going to decide to go in reverse. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift up the foot, go in reverse, put it down. Now do you notice I lifted the foot up and the needle was up? This is going to cause a problem if you don't pay attention to what you're doing. Making sure that the needle's in. Go across. then go in reverse. And then there's the first half of my straps. Grab the second half. You can either put your straps on the inside so you don't sew them. Measure 5 centimeters, or if you'd like, you can measure it according to the existing position of your other straps. This is the position. Make sure this is down so you don't sew it. Forward 3, backwards 3. Keep the needle in, lift the foot up, turn it around. Put the foot back down. Keep the needle in, lift the foot up. I'm going to go reverse this time. Now I'm going to go on an angle. That was me going in reverse, and then lift the foot up and go on an angle to close off the box. Remember, the box has to have an X in it. Remember, when we reach the end, we go in reverse. Make sure there's 2 threads. Cut your threads off. Next one. Final one. So you line it properly. Put the bottom of the foot down. Forward 3, backwards 3. Keeping the needle in there. Rotate. Keep rotating. Needle, foot up. Needle in, foot down. Keep the needle in. And there's my 4 straps. There's my new designer tote bag. Pretty strong, solid, designer. What's required for your assessment? Pretty fashionable. You need 3 appliques. Maybe you'd like to put a zipper, maybe you'd like to put a pocket, maybe you'd like to put an iron-on transfer, maybe you'd like to put on a button. It's up to you. Or a pin, it's up to you. Okay, thank you very much.